Welcome, everyone. To those of you who don't know me, and to those of you who do, I'm Chloe Ballatori. I'm a relationship and communication expert. I'm a graduate of Princeton University and Pat Allen's Want Institute. Um, Pat Allen is kind of a local hero in LA, Orange County. And she's mentored a lot of people, including Marianne Williamson and Patty Stanger of Millionaire Matchmaker and me. I use the tools that I learned from her, androgynous semantic realignment. I use tools of transactional analysis as created by Eric Byrne. And I also use tools that I've created myself because I've been teaching and practicing this work for over a decade now. I'm also over 20 years married. So I do put my money where my mouth is, and have the same challenges. I struggle with the same things as you guys probably. Um, but this work has really seen me through, and I've seen it have effects and create changes in people's lives that I've really actually never seen from any other modality, whether it be therapy, whether it be yoga, or whatever it is, Reiki. This work will really change your life if you apply yourself to it. And it's kind of, I can't remember if it was one of my clients or maybe it was Dr. Pat, but it's kind of the secret sauce. Okay, so I'm going to give a brief introduction as to what this work, the scholarship that this work is all based on existing psychological, scientific scholarship. But the tools to execute on that scholarship are relatively new. And those are what's really innovative about this work. So I'm going to give you guys a brief overview of that. And don't worry if you don't really understand everything. I actually didn't really understand this work. And when I did think I understood it, I thought it was kind of BS and I wasn't really buying into it. But I was convinced because I had seen an incredible result in my friend and neighbor, where she had really changed her life around and gone from being a broke single mom to making tons of money, marrying the guy of her dreams, getting pregnant, all of it. And when I saw that big transformation, I wanted to check out what she was doing. I was impressed. So I went into it not really understanding the work, but something in it resonated with me, and I was open-minded enough and probably unhappy enough to give it a shot. And so I encourage you guys. Um, I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to give this brief introduction. Then we're going to move into your questions. And I really encourage you to ask questions and then try some of these things out. Do the homework. Let me know how it goes. But I think once you start trying things and you see how effective this work is, and also how cathartic it is, um, many people are hooked. Okay. So, when we talk about relationships, and especially when we talk about successful relationships, we're talking about the balance of feminine and masculine energy, also known as yin and yang. Don't get too hung up on that. Those are just the terms that we use and that we have. So, the most successful relationships are those that are balanced, and those that includes the relationship that you have with yourself. All of us are feminine, all of us are masculine, and all of us have a unique balance within us. We have a right brain that is the feminine side of us, that is passive, patient, vulnerable, the world of feelings, of creativity, sensuality, sexuality, magic. This energy is in the world to make it fun, but it's not of the world. And a good metaphor for feminine energy are flowers. They are beautiful because they exist. Okay. And then we all of us have a left brain, which is more linear, which is competitive, conquering, controlling. Most of us are in our left brain when we're at work. And we live in a very masculinized society. So a lot of us, even women, tend to reside in the left hemisphere a lot, or in the masculine energy, right? Um, this is giving, taking care of, nurturing, right? The feminine energy is receiving, the masculine energy is giving. Um, this is the world of ideas. of single-mindedness. And again, we all have both of these sides. When you're in a romantic relationship, it's useful to understand which side is more dominant for you. Are you more in the feminine energy, which means you want your feelings cherished? Or are you more in the masculine energy, which means you want your thoughts respected? Again, everybody wants both. But if you come with both, especially in an awkward situation like first dates, getting to know each other, and also in conflicts, it becomes an act of narcissism because the other person doesn't have anywhere to go. So that's why we pick one side. What we avoid that way is our power struggles, either a power struggle for the masculine energy in the relationship, the control, or a power struggle for the feminine energy, which is the sympathy. Okay. Eric Byrne said there's three ways to communicate: bully with intimidation or fear, which is the masculine dystonic; seduce with guilt or tears, which is the feminine in the extreme; or to negotiate with love. And so that's what I teach. I teach negotiating love. Um, a lot of us tend to get into negative patterns in our relationships if we've suffered any kind of trauma in childhood. Because when we have situations in childhood that causes trauma, we develop coping mechanisms that we think are existential truths, but they're really just strategies of the moment. And then we bring those strategies into our adult life. And that's when we begin to see negative patterns, and that's when we begin to sabotage ourselves. And the unconscious and subconscious brain will do it the way better than the conscious mind can. You will always seek out that which is your lesson. You will always be doomed to repeat that which you don't understand. So, as I said, we have to attach to the people who take care of us when we're little, and often that's at the cost of our authenticity. But when we're grown up and we're no longer children, we don't have to sacrifice our authenticity in order to attach. But that's becomes we're already habituated in doing that. And in doing that and making those adjustments and sacrificing our authenticity, we often become out of balance in our relationships. This can also ultimately, if you don't handle your psychological and spiritual work, it will manifest in the body as disease. So anything that you've repressed or suppressed will end up having to come out. And if the mind can't think it and the mouth can't speak it, it will manifest as disease. And there's a great book on that by Gabor Mate called When the Body Says No, if you want to look into that. So that's my basic spiel. I've written 4 books on this work. Here, I'll put my credentials in one more time here. Those books are all available on Amazon. The first book, How to Live, Find Love, and Keep It, is really the basics of this work. My second book, New Ways of Being, The Pain of Change, is about what happens when we start making some of these really basic changes in our outlooks and changing the scripts and changing the patterns of our childhood. It's not a painless process. Even change for the better is painful. But a lot of people don't understand that, and they start changing and they think they're making changes for the better, but they're crying all the time or they're angry. um, that is actually a good sign, because pain is either a sign that change needs to take place or that change is already taking place. And as I said, all those negative feelings need to come out somehow. So you can be in the midst of a very positive change, life change, but still be feeling sad, for example, or feeling angry or crying or having any number of symptoms of the autonomic nervous system. For Pat, I remember she told me she thought she'd never stop throwing up when she was really in the throes of what's known as primaling. And that's when you start making these changes and these raw feelings start coming out. And that's the work of psychologists actually from my hometown of Santa Monica, Arthur Janoff. And he just recently passed, but you can also look at his work, which is he invented primal scream therapy. Um, So that's my second book. My third book is Secrets to a Good Marriage. What is Love? Because as I said, I've been married a long time. And my last book, Daddy Issues, Mommy Issues, that's mostly for women. There's a lot in that book, and that is my most recent. I also teach this work in smaller private groups a few times a year. So if you want to sign up for that, you can sign up under the module packages. Everything's really on my website, but I also do, I'm on TikTok and Instagram, and I put up original content there as well. Okay. So now I'm going to open it up to you guys for questions. And yes, dating and relationships are my specialty, but these tools, the dynamics of yin and yang, really radiate throughout the whole of life. So if you have a question about something else, feel free to ask. Hi, Elizabeth.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Welcome. How can I help you?
I have a question, in terms of your topic of like self-sabotage.
Mm-hmm.
So I grew up in a toxic family dynamic where my mom was very controlling, like narcissistic, and my dad was, I guess you call him an enabler.
Mm-hmm.
But I started therapy about a month ago, and he's trying to build up my confidence, my self-confidence, my self-esteem, and all those things. But I've realized that, in past relationships, I'm attracting people who are like my dad. Like they're kind of they're very nice up like in the beginning, but then they're kind of like gaslighting and evasive. They're not strong, like they're weak weak-willed, if you say. um
Yes.
so I was told by another therapist that because I have like an insecure attachment style, um that it's not possible for me to be in a relationship with somebody who would have a secure secure attachment style, because that's just not possible. If you're insecure, you're probably going to attract someone insecure, even
Okay,
if
okay,
you
let me stop you. Let me stop you. I'm very much disagree with that statement. First of all, healing can only take place in the context of a new relationship. It's very difficult to heal just doing things all alone, okay? So that's not true. And this whole thing about attachment theories has become very perverted, and I'm not happy about it. So people are trying to act like these attachment theories are set in stone, and they're really not. They're really not. Everybody is working towards a secure attachment style. Attachment styles were really developed to help people understand where they were at and why, for example, an avoidant person would be choosing to be with an anxious person. Often avoidant and anxious, end up being together because that's their lesson. That's what they have to learn. But attachment styles, that is a very fluid thing. And so I don't want you to ever feel like hemmed in by that, or because you have anxious attachment or you're insecure, you can't be with a secure person. Everyone's insecure. Okay. So it's not really about that. So I don't like to go against what other people say, but I really feel strongly about that one. And I don't like the way that person is discounting you and
okay.
also like giving you a very bleak outlook. Now, what you said about your dad, are you still in contact with your dad, first of all?
Yes, yeah. So they separated when I was younger, but when I went to college, I was a full adult, and then they got back together. So now, like, as in my adult life, I'm trying to understand him. I'm trying to get to know him just so that I can better understand myself, first of all, And so, I know he has his flaws, but he is, you only have one dad, right? So that's where I am. But I've noticed, like I, although I'm trying to heal, I'm like reading books. I have this therapist. I'm doing like role playing with myself, like looking at myself in the mirror. But like you said, you won't know until you enter your next relationship. But
Yes.
I'm not attracting the type of people that I want, and I don't know how to fix that. Like it's taking an
Okay.
awful long
So
time. And
that's
therapy.
another thing. That's another myth I want to dispel for you right there. Is that it's really not about who you're attracting. You are probably attracting any number of people. It's really so I don't like it when people phrase it that way, not you, but when people say, "Well, your energy's wrong. You're just not attracting." Now, it's true that relationships are all about energy. That is true. And you can make a change in your energy and you will see a lot of different possible partners. But there's a variety of reasons for that. That's not necessarily because that's what you're attracting, but that's because what you can see once you get to a certain level. A lot of times there are people there are options for us, but we can't see them because we're habituated to a certain way of thinking. And you, like I said at the beginning, you are stuck a little bit in a repetition compulsion, meaning you're still trying to resolve your relationship with your dad by choosing men who to you consciously don't appear to be like your dad. But the second you get into the relationship, holy shit, now they're doing all the same stuff, right?
Yes.
Okay. So there's a bunch of things there. First of all, if your dad, I understand you want to be in contact with your dad, and that's fine. But if your dad is not, does your dad cherish your feelings?
Well, he escapes with work, so for example, it was my birthday 2 days ago. He totally forgot about it, and he had to be reminded that it was my birthday before he could respond. Like he
And
doesn't.
then how
He
did he
just
respond?
he gaslit me about 15 minutes before midnight on my birthday. He texted me saying, "Oh, well, I actually remembered your birthday up until your birthday, and now it's not exactly midnight, so it still counts. So happy birthday."
That was
So
after you reminded him.
I didn't. My mom. I had
Oh,
to
your
actually.
mom did. Oh,
My
okay.
mom forgot. My mom also forgot. I had to
Okay.
remind my mom, and then have my mom remind him.
Okay. So that sounds like it was a painful experience. And a lot of times people who will try to either consciously or unconsciously sabotage holidays. Okay. Um, and these like narcissists or borderlines, sociopaths, psychopaths, subconsciously or even purposely act up specifically on holidays to cause as much pain as possible. I don't know if that's them, but if that's a pattern with them, that's certainly a possibility. So the first thing I want to ask you, in your romantic relationships, what is more important to you? Do you want to be getting your feelings cherished, which is the feminine energy, or do you want to be in control and having your thoughts respected? Everyone wants both, but pick one you want which one do you want the most?
The former.
The feelings cherished. Okay, so
Yes.
that's the feminine. Okay, so I want you to start becoming aware of who in your life is cherishing your feelings and who in your life is ignoring that information. Okay, so cherishing your feelings, I know that doesn't like necessarily conjure up an image, but cherishing your feelings is can be as basic as if you express I'm cold, oh, let me close the window, right? Or what are you talking about? It's hot in here. I feel great. Okay, so those are two different responses, and I want you to try to be aware of, if you express your feelings, how the other person responds. Okay, whoever they are, your mom, your dad. At work we don't really get to express our feelings, so that's more of a masculine thoughts respected arena. But certainly friendships, and definitely romantic interests. Okay,
Okay.
does that make
Okay.
sense? Do
Yeah,
you,
it
do you know what
does.
I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay.
I
Well,
know exactly what you're saying. So I can use that as a test or a litmus test to gauge.
exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
And that is going to help you so much because we can never get rid of all vulnerability in relationships. But you've been through a lot, you've been through a significant amount of trauma. So you're probably not really loving the idea of becoming vulnerable in another relationship. But with these tools, you'll be able to mitigate that. And, sometimes you will get hurt, but you'll at least be more conscious of the patterns. You understand?
Yes, I do. Thank you
People
so
are
much.
patterns. Okay, so
Yes.
try that and let us know how it goes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Wendy.
Hi.
Hi, Wendy. How can I help you?
I took my microphone away. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, I was just going to update real quick on my date last weekend. And then I thought I would ask about women friendships, actually.
Okay, good.
So, yeah, the date went well. This is the meditating guy.
Oh, right.
And
So what
so,
happened?
yes,
Great.
yeah, it went well. And he wants to see me again. So, It I don't feel like a super strong pull to him, but
Mm-hmm.
I've been
What do you
told
mean,
like
chemistry?
kind of everything.
Okay.
But I've been told like you should go on 3 dates before you decide.
Right.
Like, do you go by that too?
Yeah. Oh, I thought you were being sarcastic because I always say that. Yeah. Give him
Oh,
at
you
least 3 dates.
do? Okay. Um, yeah, so that's where that's at.
Okay, good.
Yeah, and I really am enjoying being like not having to initiate. It's so relieving.
Yes.
It is so nice to do that, and I keep worrying that he's gonna think like I'm a flake, or I mean, I don't really worry a lot anymore, but well, why isn't she like at least calling? But I think he's figuring it out because he does stay in contact, and
Yeah,
he
and
set
you
up
just
a
have to
date.
be available and receptive to his
Yeah.
leadership, you know? It is a lot more relaxing and it does take the stress out of dating.
Oh my gosh, it really also in the conversations, like I let the pregnant pauses be there instead of feeling like I had to entertain and jump in, and
Very good.
it was so nice.
Yay! I'm so glad to hear that.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for that too. I mean, I just had no idea that I thought that that was like playing, you know, unfair for a woman. Like we
Right,
have to take up our fair amount of the work too, So to
right.
not do that is great. But anyway,
Good.
so I'm on the Facebook dating, and then there's this feature where you can just look for friends. You know about that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, two different women. Yeah, I think this is so long ago now. I'm pretty sure they did the first contact.
Okay.
Um, One of them particularly seems interesting to me. And so we chatted for a while. This was, gosh, probably like it started 2 months ago or something. I don't even remember. And there was like back and forth. And then I suggested they could meet it because I had a meetup for a while. We played games in the park, but I actually turned it over to a friend. But I can still attend and everything. But
Mm-hmm.
so I had met them right in the middle of that and said, we could meet there. It's really fun and it's nice and it's by the bay. And so let's see, one of them was busy. The other had a disabled child. We were trying to figure out if the wheelchair would work there. And I went to some lengths to, investigate whether the wheelchair was accessible on the grass and blah, blah, blah. And anyway, I haven't heard from them really, and I stopped kind of initiating. I
Mm-hmm.
got more in like a feminine role, like, um, and I haven't heard until just the other day. One of them did say, "So sorry, I've been out of touch. It's just been crazy," and that's kind of all she said. And but the other one I haven't heard from at all. So I'm just not quite sure why that happened.
Right.
So we've never met,
So
and
you
I really
actually
haven't.
never met, but you had sort of arranged a time to meet and then they both fell off?
We no, there was no arranged time to meet. It was all like
Okay.
a maybe.
Oh, okay.
And things like one of them had, they had stuff going on in their life. But
Right, right, right. Okay,
yeah,
so with friendships, it's a little different, right? I mean, if with two women, somebody's gonna have to take the masculine role. Someone's gonna have to initiate or the plans aren't gonna happen.
well, I
So,
felt like I was doing that with all the, suggesting we could meet there, and they were interested. So I would, be like, yeah, well, it's here and here, and it's from this time. You know what I mean? I was doing a lot of initiating.
right. Um, but somebody needs to close. you know. So if
So,
are you still interested in seeing them?
yeah, but I'm not interested in working so hard.
Okay. So maybe they're not worth the effort. But in general, like, I do get a lot of questions about adult friendships because as we get older, it's not as easy to make friends. We're not in school. A lot of people are working remotely. Um, and if you have kids, maybe you're friends with other parents, but then your kids get older, then those friends kind of dry up. So, it's gonna be when you're making friends with an adult as an adult, it's gonna be awkward. It's gonna be kind of weird. You're gonna have, like I said, somebody's gonna have to make the first move and just make a plan. Um, like I said, somebody's gonna have to close. So when you do meet someone, if it's not these girls, maybe it'll be somebody in the future. Try to just get, it's kind of like a date. Try to get, except if you want to make it happen, then you're more in the masculine role. So it's like, you gotta, when's a good, how do you feel about this time? What do you think about having coffee on that day? You come up with as much specific information as possible so that you can actually make the plan and stop just chatting virtually because overall chatting virtually it can produce some feelings of connection, but it also produces alienation at the same time. So it's not as much of a plus as meeting in person. So just try to get to that in-person meeting. And even if it's awkward and it's lame and whatever, just put yourself out there and just try to make that in-person happen. If you make in a friendship, it's more equality, right? In a romantic relationship, it's more about equity, meaning you guys have different roles. One's not better than the other, but it's not strict equality. But in a friendship, if you made, for example, the first effort and you asked me to lunch and you made the time and the place and we went, I think it's reasonable after that to expect me to make an effort. And if I don't make an effort, then you're probably not going to make an effort. Maybe you try one more time, right? But like you said, you don't want to chase. So try to get to that in-person meeting, even if it's kind of awkward. You can use these communication tools to do it. Pick one or the other. What do you think about having coffee? How do you feel about having coffee? Whatever it is. Whatever you think will work the best, you can try it that way. And then, see how that goes and see if the other person is responsive. I agree. I don't like chasing people either. And if they don't, like I said, if they don't reciprocate after a certain point, then I'm done, And at the same time, if somebody reaches out to me and they want to do something, blah, 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 and we go and I like it, then I'll reach out to them again. And if I don't like it, then I probably won't. So it doesn't have to be, don't put so much pressure on yourself. Just either try to get the meeting to happen and be as specific as possible, um, and then see how it goes. Does that make sense?
Yeah. How should I open it? I mean, like, one, I haven't heard from her in like 2 months. How would I?
You could just say, "Hey, where'd you go? We're having the game night Saturday. What do you think about coming? We can eat dinner afterwards or whatever it is you want to do."
Hmm. Okay. Okay. So don't be afraid to have to initiate again and just
Yeah, I
hang
mean,
up.
it doesn't sound like there was a concrete plan made, so, you know, I
Right.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't worry about quote being rejected. And in general, there's so much stress on being rejected or this person said this or that. Anytime we're triggered in that way, it's always a hearkening back to some older childhood wound because the truth is, you never even
Yeah.
met these girls. If what they disappeared for 2 months, it was no big deal to you. If one of them rejects you, who cares?
Yeah.
It's not a litmus test of how you are as a person. So if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. You move on. You're just not aligned. It doesn't mean they don't like you, something's wrong with you, Sometimes
Yeah.
it's just not a match.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, good luck. Let me know how it goes.
Okay.
Thank you for sharing. Okay, who's next? You guys can raise your hands. You can put a question in the chat. You can also ask about anything I've said up to this point. One of the great things about doing these groups is we get to learn so much from each other, and it's always surprising how much we have in common with people that we think we would not have anything in common with. Okay. Um, can you interpret some modern dating trends? Okay, what do you mean by that, Yanli? Hi,
So,
Yanli.
hi, Chloe.
Welcome.
Hi. Thank you. I really appreciate your advice last time.
Did you do it? Did you
Not yet, but
not yet?
I'm
Okay.
going to try practicing. So I
Okay,
was
good.
wondering on these dating apps, because like so many new things that I'm not totally familiar. Like say, for example, a lot of guys put things like polygamy, or like a lot of these new
Right.
I
Right.
I don't exactly understand how to interpret that, because as far as I know, polygamy is illegal, right? So
Oh, okay. No,
how do you
that's
think of those
okay, right.
things?
I think
Yeah.
people are meaning polyamory,
Uh-huh.
which is yeah, Adil put that in the chat. That's funny. It means that they're open to multiple partners. So this is something that it's not really anything new. I mean, this is something that's come and gone throughout history, right? Actually,
Yeah.
I remember being a child in the 70s and finding a book on my parents' bookshelf that said open marriage.
Oh.
So it basically means you're in a relationship, maybe with one person, maybe with more than one person, but that you're also open to sexual encounters with other people. Like if in polyamory, it can mean a variety of different constellations of relationships, but all of those things need to be negotiated.
Mm.
Now, some people are saying, "Oh, I'm happy in a throuple," which means it's like a three-person couple, right?
Mm.
Um, in my experience, these relationships don't tend to be long lasting, but of course there are exceptions. So if that's something that you're interested in, then that would be there's your person. Is that something you're interested in?
No, but I'm just thinking like because I see so many guys there put this into their profile. I'm just thinking, is this something to avoid, or is this I don't know, or is this just not such a bad thing, or what's the I don't yeah.
Well, it just depends what you want. It's not
Okay.
a bad thing or a good thing. Are
Mm-hmm.
you looking for monogamy, just being with one person? Or are you more comfortable in a relationship where you could maybe be with somebody else if you wanted to?
Hmm. I don't know. I just I mean I never had that, so I don't know. But I just don't know how one would actually feel in those kind of relationships.
Right.
Uh, yeah. So is this some kind of thing that's originated in the 60s, 70s, something? Is that
Well, I don't think that was the first time it came out, but
okay?
it definitely was popular in that time.
Hmm.
So it doesn't sound like it's something that interests you. So just skip over those people.
Okay.
Those are people who want more than one partner.
Okay.
That can sometimes be hard on the nervous system of a woman.
Yeah, because
You
it's
know.
like because your capacity, right? Because it's like I mean it's like I don't know, it's just like it sounds interesting, but like I don't know whether one can
It's hard
handle it.
not to get jealous and not have that.
Right. Yeah.
I have had clients who engage in it. And I would just say, just be aware of your feelings if you're in that situation.
Mm.
I've had clients who've done it and then felt who've done it because they've wanted to do something for their partner that their partner wanted, but then afterward didn't feel so good about it.
Mm.
So, just keep that in mind.
Right. Is it so? I'm just wondering, like, because I see so many. Is that becoming more prevalent or common
I
or
don't know. I don't think that many people are into it, but you know,
okay.
it may be something that's happening more on an app, you know.
Oh, okay.
Like
Yeah.
just I would just say anecdotally in terms of my practice and other people who do what I do. Well, nobody does what I do, but you know, other people in a related field. A
Okay.
lot of people, it's gotten a lot of press recently, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I haven't noticed like an uptick in polyamorous relationships. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? It's
Okay.
actually, you know, sometimes people, I did once have a couple, they were a French couple. They were born in France, where the scripting is different. You know, it's not the same as being born in America. And
Okay.
their arrangement was he got to be with other women, but she had to pick them out. And
Mm,
they had an issue because he picked out someone for himself once, and that was not part of their arrangement. And that almost broke them. Um,
mm, mm,
in that culture, it's a little bit easier. It's not the same as American culture. There's a little bit more of an open mind about sexuality and
mm,
sexual practices. I don't know if that could be replicated if you didn't grow up in a culture like that.
mm. Okay. Yeah, that's good. I appreciate because I just see so much on the dating app, so I kind of wonder how to whether it really reflects some kind of, what's really behind the thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. Yes, Raul, you want to weigh in on this?
I do, yes. I think that it's many men's fantasy to have more than one partner.
Yes.
Monogamy just it's just not very, the mindset of it is not very common. But I think what you're seeing is just that more people are more free to express it in an app now than did before. But I think it's since the beginning of time, men have always desired multiple partnerships
Hmm. Yeah, that's a good
in
point.
general.
People are
But
probably, yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
they're just more. They see more people are willing to vocalize it or talk about it more. So that's just becoming more of a discussion thing now than before. But it's not that things have changed with men. Men have always been men.
Right. Good point. Okay. Thank you. Okay, Maggie, if a person wants to be understood, okay, so thoughts respected, what are they looking for? Does that mean they're looking for an obsidian partner? What do you mean obsidian?
Sorry, I meant obedient.
Oh, like obsidian. Is she talking about the black cat? Okay. Okay. If a person, okay. So if you want your thoughts respected first, you are then looking for a feminine energy person who will be available to your leadership. I don't like the word obedient because it connotes the person doesn't have any of their own agency. It's okay to control someone if you cherish their feelings, and it's okay to manipulate if you respect the other person's thoughts. So, yes, you would in this certain way, you would be if you're in the masculine energy, if you're in that yang energy and what you want primarily is to get your thoughts respected, then you're the controlling person. You're the one initiating the date. You're the one making the plans. You might be the breadwinner, not always, but often. Um, and you're looking for somebody who's a little bit softer, who's a little bit more feminine, who will be available to your leadership, who will give you respect, right? Someone you can take care of. Does that make sense? Maggie? Hmm. Okay. Well, maybe we lost her. I'm trying to unmute you.
Okay.
Sure. Okay.
Right. Yes.
That makes sense?
We Yes, we touched a little bit about being cherished. What's the opposite side of being respected? I kind of feel a little confused about when people say what they wanted to be respected.
Or their
What are they
feelings
looking,
cherished.
yeah, versus their feelings cherished. It's a little bit confusing.
It is. And a lot of it is resolved in practicing it. Because, it's not like one size fits all, cherishing someone's feelings, respecting someone's thoughts. I can give you examples, but when you're in the situation, that's when you have to put, that's why I really actually love doing these groups, and especially my private groups, because we really get to marry the theory with your actual life and behavior so we can see how it's playing out and make adjustments. But you're asking, what does it look like to cherish somebody's feelings?
Or what does it look like to respect someone?
Okay. So that's funny. That's what Jan Lee put in here. What can a woman do to make a man feel respected? Okay. So when you respect the masculine energy, what do? You're available to his or her leadership. You are receptive. You let them take control. You maybe, if you want to amp up the respect a little more, you listen to their ideas, you praise their achievements. If you can, you echo their ideas. Oh, that was a good idea. I noticed da 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 da. You're absolutely right. Okay. These are the things that women have done throughout time. A lot of this
That,
knowledge
but
has
that
been
that
lost.
kind of to me feels like that's cherishing their feelings. It's like, oh
Well,
well, I think
it's
this
so
is
it's
really important, and so you're like, yeah, you're right.
because when a man does good, a man needs to do good to feel good. So when you do respect him, he will feel good. And women are the converse. Women need to feel good to do good. So when you cherish a woman's feelings, she experiences respect. See? So that might take a while for that to sink in. But basically that's what, you might ask him for advice. You know, a lot of men, like to talk about their achievements. So it's like listening to that. Um, and then not competing, it's not like you have to do this all the time, but definitely in awkward situations and conflicts. So not competing for control. And that's so important, especially um, if you end up in a long-term relationship. Well, you don't want to have power struggles for control. So it's like, it's not competing. It's, if you don't agree, and look, if you have to call a doctor, a lawyer, policeman, by all means do so. But otherwise, you make him right. You let him be right. Even if you know better, even if you're smarter, even if you can do it better, you let him be right. Why? Because women, yes, we are very capable, but we don't want to do everything. And the feminist movement and other trends have kind of pushed us into doing everything, and it's burning a lot of women out. So I'm not saying your ideas are crap. I'm just saying, yes, express them, do whatever you want, have natural conversations. But if a conflict starts coming, don't go up against, if you want to resolve it, don't go up directly against with a power struggle. If he starts yelling at you, don't yell back. Tell him, I don't feel good when you talk to me that way, right? Not, you're wrong, you're an idiot, right? That's just gonna escalate things. So these tools tend to very much de-escalate. And then you see if he cherishes your feelings, okay? That would be an example. If your date or whoever, your father, whoever it is, starts yelling at you and making you feel bad, and you express, hey, stop, you're making me feel bad the way you're talking to me, and they keep going, they don't care about your feelings, right? And that's painful, but that is information that you need to know. So it is difficult in those situations not to react, not to react in kind, not to go tit for tat. But especially in romantic relationships, we really try not to do that because it ends up spiraling out of control. Then you're having a argument to the death about, you can't even remember what it's about. Usually that's your ancestors fighting. You're off on some script, and it's not even what's happening in front of you. So if you do find yourself in a conflict, express your feelings and see if they get cherished or not. See if that information is factored into the other person's behavior. Now, sometimes nobody's going to get it right all the time. But again, people are patterns. So you'll be able to start to see a pattern from that. Is that making sense?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, and I hope that answered your question too, Yanli. Okay. Okay, Elizabeth. If I want my feelings cherished, does that mean I should try to look for a manly man or more masculine man? That's a really good question. So, sometimes it correlates, not always though. So, for example, I don't like to get too political, but some people perceive Trump as a very like masculine man, right? But in truth, he's actually not, because he's very volatile and he's very emotional. He's not very logical, right? And his power comes from just saying what's on his mind, what's in his heart, just saying whatever is off the cuff. So he's very reactive and he is very emotional in his both in what he initiates and how he reacts to other people. There's not a lot of logic there, but yet people call him masculine. So I broke down the differences between masculine and feminine at the beginning. If you missed that, these recordings are available on Apple Podcast or anywhere you get your podcast, and also on YouTube. So you can check it out. It's also in my book. But masculinity doesn't mean bullying. A bully is masculine in the extreme, but that's not really a bully is not what we're looking for in our romantic relationships. So, it depends what you mean by masculine, manly, and I think there's just a lot of misunderstanding about masculine and feminine. So in this context, masculine is giving, taking care of, cherishing a woman's feelings, taking care of women, animals, the planet, okay? Um, doing, okay? Not somebody who's reacting to things like, "Oh, you're just a boy, I don't know what to do." Right? The opposite of Peter Pan. So sometimes those men look more masculine. Sometimes they don't necessarily, right? And there's many ways for a man to cherish your feelings. He can buy you things. My money's the easiest thing to get, right? Take you out to dinner. He can um, you know, buy you necklaces. Those things are cherishing. Those things will make you feel good. He can give you a foot massage every night. He can make you dinner. These are other ways that, sometimes men, I hear from men, I don't want her. No, no man wants to be used for his money. So I just want to clarify, it doesn't mean that you have to be rich in order to have a girlfriend or a wife. That's absolutely not true. And that everybody knows poor people get married all the time. Okay, good. Elizabeth said makes sense. Excellent. Okay. Okay, any more questions or comments? Just a few minutes left. I usually go about an hour. This has been a really good night for clarifying the masculine and feminine. And there's a great book about masculine and feminine energy. It's called The Yin. I'm going to put it in the chat. The Yin Yang of Life by Dr. Kim and Dr. Lee. And these are two MDs, and they've basically broken down. We live in a universe based in duality. So we have night and day, we have black and white, we have all the shades of gray in between. And that's what's connoted by the fluidity of the yin yang symbol. These guys have literally broken down everything like food, alcohol, colors, things you would never even think of into yin and yang. So if you really want to go deeper on yin and yang, that's a good resource for you as well. Well, as well as probably my first book has the most about yin and yang in it, as the how to live, find, love, and keep it. Excuse me. Okay, no more questions? Then I will wrap it up. if I don't see you guys here next week I won't be here because it's 4th of July. So I'll be back in 2 weeks. Everything goes as planned. If I don't see you then, you can also reach out to me for private through my website. I work with men, I work with women, I work with teenagers, I work with couples. You can also sign up for one of the packages, check out the books. Even ask me a quick question. If I can answer it, I will. If it's too long for me to answer quickly, then we can set up a session or you can ask it the following time at Meetup. And if I don't hear from you, I hope to see you back in this room soon. Okay, have a good night.